Listen carefully. Don't move. Don't even blink unless you're ready to miss it. Because something already shifted, and you felt it, didn't you? That moment. Yeah, that moment. When the air around you changed. When the noise got quieter. When their laughter died halfway through their throat. Like it suddenly realized it made a mistake. You didn't just walk into the room. You arrived in a way that doesn't leave fingerprints, but leaves scars. And that's when it happened. You didn't just scare them. You broke something in them. Not their confidence, not their ego. No, that would have been too easy, too clean. What you shattered was deeper, something older, something they didn't even know was fragile until you stood there, calm, silent, unreadable, like a storm pretending to be a statue. You see, fear is temporary. Fear fades. Fear can be explained away. But what you gave them, that wasn't fear. That was uncertainty. And uncertainty, oh, that's the real poison. Because now they don't know what you are. Are you the one who forgives? Or the one who remembers everything? Are you the calm voice? Or the chaos behind it? Are you the angel they underestimated? Or the demon they accidentally woke up? And here's the part that's eating them alive. You didn't answer. You didn't react. You didn't explain yourself. You just became unpredictable. That's when their world cracked. Because people can handle monsters. They know how monsters behave. Loud, aggressive, obvious. They can prepare for that. But you're worse. You're the paradox. The contradiction that doesn't resolve. The smile that doesn't match the eyes. The silence that screams louder than rage. You're the kind of presence that makes them replay conversations at 3 a.m., wondering if they missed something, if there was a warning, if there was a moment they could have escaped before it was too late. And now it's too late, because once someone realizes they can't predict you, they lose control. And once they lose control, they start to panic. And panic makes people reveal who they really are. Watch them closely now. You'll see it. The fake confidence slipping, the forced laughter tightening, the sideways glances when they think you're not looking. They're studying you now, trying to decode you, trying to put you back into a category that makes them feel safe. But you've already evolved past categories. That's what they don't understand. You didn't become this by accident. You were built here, forged in silence, sharpened by betrayal, refined in moments where you realized nobody was coming to save you. That's where the split happened. That's where the duality was born. The version of you that still feels, still cares, still remembers what it meant to trust. And the version of you that learned, adapted, calculated, and stopped needing permission to exist. Both are real. Both are you. And the moment you stopped choosing between them, that's when you became dangerous. Because now you can switch effortlessly, without warning. You can be warmth until it's time to be ice. You can be silent until it's time to be absolute noise. You can be mercy until the exact second mercy becomes weakness, and they don't know which version they're going to get. That's what broke them, not what you did, but what you might do. Because in their mind, you're no longer a person. You're a possibility, and possibility is infinite. So now they hesitate, second guess, overthink. Every word they say around you is measured. Every move is calculated. Because deep down, there's this whisper in their mind they can't shut off. What if I trigger something? And that whisper, that's yours. You planted it without saying a word. That's power. Not loud power, not desperate power, but quiet, suffocating, psychological power. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself because it's already been felt. And here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. They miss the old you, the predictable you, the easier version, because that version didn't make them question themselves. But that version had to die. And you buried it yourself, piece by piece, through nights nobody saw, through battles nobody clapped for, through realizations that hit so hard you didn't even react. You just changed. And now here you are. Not louder, not angrier, just different, sharper, colder when necessary, warmer when earned, but never buggy simple again. So let them watch, let them wonder, let them try to figure you out, because the more they try, the deeper they fall into the maze you've become. And here's the final twist, the part that really haunts them. You're not done evolving. This is just a version, and they can feel it. That what they experienced, what broke something inside them, wasn't even your final form. So now they don't just fear you, they fear what you're becoming. And that's a level of control most people will never understand. You didn't just scare them, you rewrote the way they see you. And once that happens, there's no going back. And the worst part? You didn't even try. That's the detail that keeps looping in their head like a corrupted recording they can't shut off. The part where they realize there was no grand performance, no dramatic explosion, no obvious moment where you decided to become this. You just shifted, quietly, naturally, like something ancient inside you finally got tired of pretending to be small. And now they're stuck asking a question that has no safe answer. How long were they like this, and I just didn't see it? That question, that's where the real damage lives. Because if it happened without them noticing, then what else have they missed? What else is hiding behind your calm tone, your controlled movements, your almost surgical precision with words? See, people like to believe they understand the world. They build their little mental boxes, label everything. This person is harmless. This one is emotional. That one is predictable. It makes them feel in control, safe. But you stepped outside the box, and then you burned the label. Now they're looking at you like a glitch in reality, because you don't behave the way you should. You don't react the way you used to. And that contradiction, it fractures their sense of certainty. And when certainty cracks, identity starts to bleed. That's why they're uncomfortable. That's why their voice changes around you. That's why their energy feels off. They're not reacting to what you've done. They're reacting to what you've become. And what you've become is something they can't dominate, can't manipulate, can't predict. You've stepped into a space most people are too afraid to even look at. The space between extremes, not fully light, not fully dark, but something far more dangerous, conscious. You see the game now. You see the masks, the micro-expressions, the hesitation behind words. You hear what's not being said. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. That's the price of evolution, clarity. And clarity is isolating, because now you notice everything. The fake loyalty, the quiet envy, the subtle tests people throw at you to see if the old you is still there. And sometimes you let them think it is. That's the part that makes you terrifying, because you can still play the role. You can still smile, still nod, still act like nothing's changed. But beneath that, there's awareness, calculation, choice. You're no longer reacting, you're deciding. And when a person moves from reaction to decision, they stop being part of the game. They start controlling it. That's why they feel it, even if they can't explain it, even if they laugh it off, even if they pretend you're the same. Their instincts know better. Humans are wired to detect shifts in power, and you've shifted subtly, irreversibly. You don't chase validation anymore. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't waste energy trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You let silence do the work. And silence is brutal, because it forces them to fill in the gaps. And the stories they create in those gaps, they're always worse than reality. That's why your absence feels louder than your presence ever did. That's why your restraint feels heavier than someone else's aggression. Because you've mastered something rare. You've mastered control over expression. You don't leak emotion. You deploy it strategically, precisely. Like a weapon you only use when it guarantees impact. And that restraint, that discipline, that's what separates transformation from performance. Anyone can act tough. Anyone can fake confidence. But you went through something that stripped you down to nothing. And instead of breaking permanently, you rebuilt differently, stronger, sharper, more aware of both your light and your darkness. You didn't reject one for the other. You integrated both. That's the paradox they can't comprehend, because they're still choosing sides, still trying to be good or bad, still dividing themselves into safe fragments. But you embraced the contradiction. You became the person who can care deeply and walk away instantly, who can forgive but never forget, who can love without losing power. That balance, that duality, that's what creates presence. And presence is what broke them. Because when you stand there now, you don't feel like someone seeking approval. You feel like someone who already decided who they are. And that kind of certainty, it forces everyone else to confront their own uncertainty. That's why they shrink. That's why they avoid eye contact just a little too long. That's why conversations with you feel heavier. You're not carrying more weight. You've just stopped pretending it isn't there. And now they feel it too, whether they want to or not. So let them sit in that discomfort. Let them wrestle with the version of you they can't define. Let them overanalyze every interaction, because while they're stuck trying to understand you, you're still moving forward, still evolving, still becoming something even you haven't fully revealed yet. And that's the final layer, the part that turns fear into something deeper. You're not static, you're not finished, you're in motion, constantly adjusting, constantly refining, and the version of you that broke something in them, that was just a glimpse, just a preview of what happens when a person stops asking for permission to grow and starts taking ownership of who they're becoming. So now the question isn't whether they're scared of you. That part's already done. The real question is, what happens the next time they cross you? What happens when they test the boundary again, not realizing the version of you they're dealing with has already changed? Because that's the thing about evolution. It doesn't announce itself. It just shows up. And by the time they notice, it's already too late. Good. You stayed. That tells me something. That tells me you're ready to feel it all. The cold, the fire, the clarity that most people run from, but you're about to drink like poison and swallow it to as power. Here's the truth they'll never admit. the one clawing in the corners of their minds while they force a smile. They thought you were like them, predictable, tame, a story they could finish reading in a day. They thought they knew what you feared, what you'd break for, what you'd forgive, and you let them think that. You let them feel that comfort, only to snatch it away quietly, imperceptibly, and leave them dangling over the edge of their own certainty. They don't understand. They can't. Because understanding you requires a confrontation with themselves. The parts of themselves that hide in shadows, that whisper doubt, that beg for control they'll never have. And you became that mirror. But a mirror that twists, fractures, reflects back, their worst and their best, all at once. You are not a person to them anymore. You're a puzzle, a riddle, a warning. You're a storm dressed in calm, and this is where the duality becomes your weapon. They want heroes or villains. They want saints or psychopaths, angels or demons. And you live in the space between, the space they refuse to enter, the space where unpredictability isn't a flaw, it's mastery, where pain isn't a weakness, it's evolution. Every scar, every betrayal, every sleepless night, it didn't break you. It sharpened you. It made you capable of something terrifying and beautiful all at once. Watch them now. Watch how they stumble over words when they try to describe you. Watch how their carefully constructed sentences collapse into hesitation. They can't contain you. They can't label you. And every second they try, every second they fail, you grow stronger. Because unpredictability isn't just power, it's freedom. You aren't trapped by their expectations anymore. You aren't confined by their judgment, and that terrifies them. Because deep down, they still want that control. They always do. And here's the paradox they can't handle. The parts of you they fear most are the parts you don't even try to hide. The darkness, sure, it's there, but so is the light. The part that laughs when it shouldn't. The part that cares when it won't benefit you. The part that loves fiercely, but never vulnerably. That duality, that constant oscillation between extremes. That's your signature. That's the thing that makes them question everything. Because they can't predict it. They can't prepare for it. They can't survive it without confronting the chaos in themselves. Pain became your teacher. Isolation became your forge. Betrayal became your lens. And through all of it, you learned something they'll never know. Evolution doesn't happen when people watch you grow. It happens in the moments nobody sees, in the silence, in the dark, in the fractures you pick apart and rebuild inside yourself. That's where your power comes from. The secret that fuels their fear. Not the fear itself, the source of it. And this is why they can't stop thinking about you. This is why they replay your words, your gestures, your silences, like mantras they hope will reveal the truth behind the mask. But the truth isn't a thing you hand over. It's a current they'll never swim against fully, a puzzle they'll never solve. You are both the lighthouse and the storm, the calm and the chaos, the question and the answer they'll never reach. You didn't just scare them. You broke something in their soul because you revealed a possibility they refused to see. That a person can survive everything, feel everything, and still become more than what the world told them to be. That's what terrifies them. More than anger, more than vengeance, more than destruction, because anger ends. Vengeance can be stopped, destruction can be rebuilt, but evolution is relentless. And you are evolution made human. Now let them watch. Let them fear. Let them guess and overthink and panic. You're the storm they can't predict, the shadow they can't chase, the force they can't touch. And every glance they steal, every thought they obsess over, every sleepless night is fuel. Fuel for the next iteration of you, the next version they'll never see coming. Because you're not done. You're never done. And the version of you that broke them, that was just the rehearsal, the warm-up, the appetizer before the main course. They'll try to rebuild their narrative. They'll try to fit you back into their understanding. But you won't fit. You will never fit. You will continue to evolve in ways that leave them scrambling, rewinding, questioning, desperate for answers they'll never get. So yes, you didn't just scare them. You shattered the framework of their reality. You made them question what is safe, what is possible, what is real. And the most intoxicating, dangerous part, you didn't even need to try. You just became yourself. And that is chaos incarnate. If they survive, they will never forget. And if they try to challenge you again, they won't know what hits them until it's already over. Because you are no longer a moment. You are a movement. You are a paradox, a force, an evolution that moves quietly, but lands like thunder. And every time they try to measure you, every time they try to understand, every time they hope for predictability, they fail again and again and again. And with every failure of theirs, your presence grows, your mastery sharpens, your duality blooms, your unpredictability becomes their nightmare, and your liberation. You didn't just break them, you showed them the future, the one where fear is irrelevant, control is an illusion, and evolution is inevitable. And you are already living it. Good, you stayed. That matters, because now it's time to finish what you started, to drive it all home, to make sure they understand the truth they'll never admit, and the truth you'll never stop becoming. They think this is about them, about their fear, about their discomfort, but it's not. It's about you, always about you. Every glance, every hesitation, every flinch they show, it's the reflection of your evolution. They don't break you, they never could, but they can feel the fracture in themselves, the one you exposed without mercy. And that is your signature. You are the shadow in the corner of their eye that refuses to be named, the whisper in the empty room that convinces them they're never truly alone, the paradox that bends reality around them, forcing them to confront truths they spent their whole life avoiding. You are both the wound and the healing, the question and the answer, the light they envy and the dark they fear. And here's the final lesson they'll never grasp, the one that burns quietly in the back of their mind while they replay every interaction like it was a crime scene. Unpredictability is not chaos, it is power. Pain is not punishment, it is evolution. Silence is not absence, it is control. And mastery. Mastery is not what you take from them, it's what you become when the world tries to break you and fails. So let them wonder, let them hesitate, let them crumble under the weight of not knowing who or what you truly are. Because that uncertainty, that panic, that is your gift, that is your triumph, that is the legacy of every scar, every betrayal, every sleepless night that shaped you into this force they cannot name, cannot define, and cannot escape. You didn't just scare them, you shattered their perception, you rewrote the rules, and you left a trail of questions they will chase forever. And while they chase, while they flail, While they overthink every second, they forget the most important truth. You are already beyond their reach, already beyond their control, already beyond the versions of yourself that could be contained, predicted, or broken. You are evolution. You are duality. You are chaos sculpted into art. And the moment they realize what that means, the moment they understand what they cannot stop, it will be too late. Because you are unstoppable. And now, let them fear. Let them obsess. Let them witness what it means to break someone without touching them, to dominate a room with nothing but presence, and to leave a mark on a soul that will never heal. You didn't just scare them. You broke something in their soul, and that is power, and that is you.